Yeah, I've been waiting for this.
Hey everyone, this is Press Any Button, and here we are for another part of our action adventure series. Now, just to finish off our terraining bits, I'm going to show you how you can create a structure for your newly created environment, and multiple structures if you want to, but this will just be a template for you guys to work off of. So let's get straight into the tutorial because this doesn't need to take too long. I'm going to delete all of these, so select and just hit the delete key. I'm going to hit Shift A, create a cylinder. Under the menu that we get when we create an object, we're going to set the vertices to 16, and then I'm going to hit S and Z to scale along the Z axis. We're going to go for 0.09 in terms of the scale. Then I'm going to zoom out, S, Shift Z to scale on everything except from the Z axis. I'm going to scale this up by 17.5. Fantastic. So we've got our platform, our floor for our battle arena. Let's add a couple more things. I'm going to hit Shift A and we're going to go into Mesh, Ico Sphere, and the subdivisions are pretty good, so we won't mess around with that. I'm going to go to the top view by hitting this gizmo. Then I'm going to drag this over so it's not moving along the Z axis, only the X and the Y axis because we're in this particular view. Hit Shift and middle click, which is my scroller, just to pan over. Gonna hit S and scale this up to a significant amount. These are only bushes, so they don't have to be mahoosive, but if you want to make them like that, you defo can. You have my permission. Gonna scale this along the Y axis and then a little bit more along the X axis. Then I'm gonna go into a side view here. Gonna hit Tab to go into edit mode for this object. Hold Z and open up that weapons wheel. Go into wireframe. Delete the faces once I've selected those. And then I'm going to reselect these vertices and hit F to create a base for our bush. I'm going to bring that up by hitting GZ. Now I'm going to go into solid again. I'm going to hit Shift D and start moving around these shrubs, rotating by the Z axis by hitting R and then Z, scaling up and doing everything I feel like I should. Now I'm just going to line these up, make sure that they are all kind of under this initial platform that we've created. We don't want them above that, otherwise they will be floating. This platform represents the ground and bushes come out of the ground, so we need to make sure that they start from underneath. That's all good, so we can continue on to creating some pillars. I'm creating pillars because I want this to be a circular dojo type thing. So we're going to go into this menu and we're going to set the vertices to 8. Then I'm going to go to that lovely top view, drag this initial column along, S, Shift Z, scale it along that axis. I'm going to scale it up by 2.25. I'll go to face select up here, GZ, to bring that up to 15. Now stay with me in edit mode. You're going to hit Control R and that's going to give you the loop cut option. I'm going to hit Control and just get a nice round number for the position of our loop cut. I'm going to have it there because we need a base for our pillar. I'll go into wireframe now and back into face select. Get rid of this menu. And then I'm going to select all of that. I'm going to hit E, and then I'm going to not commit to moving it to any particular location by right clicking after I've hit E. Then I'm going to hit S, Shift Z, and scale that up by 1.2 along every axis except from the Z axis. Then we'll go back into object mode, solid, just to make sure that it looks right. Now the final thing I'm going to do is select the top of our pillar, go into our front view, hit R and just rotate that slightly, probably like 18 degrees, just to make it look like this is decayed over time. We're going to have multiple pillars, but before we duplicate these and make a ton of work for ourselves in the future, I'm going to go over to this materials tab, and you can see that I don't have any materials except from material there. And in the materials tab, I'm going to hit new, and we are going to just select a base color for this new material. So this material is going to be the bottom of our pillars. So I'm going to go for a pretty deep, dark gray, low saturation black, more of a dark gray, sort of in the middle. And I'm going to call this pillar bottom. Now that we got pillar bottom jeans sorted out, we are going to create another material, but to do that, we're going to go into edit mode, not to create the material. I mean, we could create it at any point, but before we do that, we're going to go into edit mode, go into wireframe and select a particular part of our mesh here. We're then going to hit this plus icon and create a new material, and that material is going to have a different color. So we're going to go for a nice kind of vermilion red, literally my favorite kind of red. And I did have it just a second ago. You know what, that'll do. And then we're going to hit assign after we've done that and rename our material so there's no confusion. Pillar top. Then I'm going to hold Z and go into look dev to make sure everything's all right. And my materials have been applied, which is fantastic. So now I can duplicate these pillars and move them around, rotate them around without having to create new materials for each and every one. So I'll do that, rotate this a little bit, do this. Great, now I'm going to skip ahead and do a couple more things to this. Alright, so I'm back. I thought it'd be a good idea to sort of tell a little bit of a story with this environment and just be like, oh, someone blew the roof open. How did that happen? It's not really significant because this ain't, you know, a full feature length game, but hey, got to take pride in our work at some point. And I take pride in my work by making sure I clip through as many things as possible. All right, let's get into the materials for this. So we're just gonna go over to this materials tab. Now, if I really wanted to, I could apply old materials. So on the drop down here, you can see that we have our old materials. That's a little bit boring, so I'm gonna go for a new material. So we're gonna hit the minus icon to unassign that material and create a new material. Nice and easy. We're just gonna go for brown and then make it as dark as we can without losing the fact that it is like a bronzy brown. There we go, it's still got a little bit of color to it. Then I'll go over here, apply that material, can change the name, roof, and we have our materials done. Now I'll tell you with confidence, if we were to export this as an FBX, as we've always done into Unity at this point, all of the materials that we've worked with so far will be exported. However, we do encounter some issues when we use image textures and the like. So I'm going to walk you through how we can sort of overcome those problems. The next thing I'm going to do is select one of my bushes. I'm not going to do a smart unwrap for this because we're just going to use a generic image texture for each and every bush. So I'm going to go over to base color, and instead of base color, we're going to use image texture. And you can see that this bush has now turned into a black bush. So I'll call this shrubbery. So the material overall is called shrubbery, but we're going to use an image. So where it said image, I just hit new. We're going to call this shrubbery text. And I'm going to bump up the resolution. 2048 by 2048 should be good. And once I've got all of that, I'm going to hit OK. So now we have our new image here. And in the image editor, we get to select shrubbery text. And you can see that it is just complete blackness, but we are going to deal with that now. So with our object selected, we're going to go into texture paint, and you can see that it hasn't been unwrapped in a smart way, and I do not care because we're going to do this nice and simple. Now I can select the glorious paint bucket tool on this side, so I'm going to select it here, find a good saturation of green. Must be my least favorite color because I can't find a good color that I want to use there, and we're just going to dot that there. Blend mode is mixed, that's completely fine. Let's take a look at it over there. That's kind of looking pretty nice. We're going to click one more time, and yeah, that's a pretty good hue of green. Then I'm going to go over to my paintbrush tool and blend mode, mix again. Gonna up the strength, and yeah, we'll set that for radius because I got my pen out, my graphics tablet, and we will go into the color picker and choose a nice purple just to dot this bush with berries and the such. Okay, so I'm back and I made a bit of a mess with that, but that's completely fine. What we'll do with our image is we're going to go over to image and we're going to save it. So I'm going to hit save as image for that, and now I get to apply the shrubbery material to all of my bushes. So we'll go back into object mode and come out of the texture paint mode, and I'm going to select all of my shrubs and apply that material. That disgusting, disgusting material. And just a quick PSA, remember to actually save your entire project too. Fantastic. Now I'm going to try to redeem myself with a semi-decent ground texture. So we're going to hit our platform here and create a new material. Then we're of course going to go over to image texture, create a new image, and the name of this image is going to be floor. And now we can start drawing the floor. So if I go over to this window again, I can now select floor, and we're going to switch it up into texture paint mode. And with this object, with how it's unwrapped already, I'm pretty happy with how it looks. If you're going for more complicated objects, remember, of course, go into edit mode, hit U with everything selected. Smart UV project is going to give you a good projection that you can work off of, so that you can make sure that your thing doesn't look too jank. But seeing as it's working all right for us already, I'm just going to skip that part. So in texture paint mode, I'm going to go to the paint bucket tool again. Then I'm going to go into tools, and we're going to go for a slatey, beigey kind of texture. So let's go into our sort of creamy colors. Really don't want any saturation on this, just kind of a stone color for this one. Strength all the way up because I want to commit to the color, and then we're going to click and the color will change. Let's tone it down a little bit, and the color has changed once again. And we'll drag this to the side. Okay, so as we like to do, I got a little carried away with that, but hopefully you've got something much better than this, or close to this, or something that you can actually use in your game. Let's export this stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is just close this area. So we're going to hit join area when we have that option to move these things along. So join that area up, and I can see my creation in all of its glory. Then we're going to go over to the shading menu, and here we'll be able to see the properties of our textures. So now that we're here, we're going to go to File, External Data, and pack into .blend. So we've packed our files, and you can see that this icon has changed. So now we're ready to unpack these items and put them in a folder that we'll be able to use in a second. So I'm going to go to External Data again, unpack all into files, and we're going to use files in current directory. So this has created a folder called textures for me, and I'll be able to use that to import when we go to Unity. So to export, we go to File, Export, and then FBX, find the location that we want to export our thing to. I've already got it exported, so that's why it's giving me this red warning, but I will see you in Unity. Okay, so here we are back in Unity, and the first thing we're going to do is take a look at our mesh that we've just imported, and you can see the materials are there, but the textures that we've used are not there. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to open up our file browser and take that textures folder that we just created, so the one that we just made in Blender to host all of our textures, which was created when we clicked on use files in directory. So we're going to take this and we'll move it over to our current project. So once you've moved that into your project, you should have access to those textures. And voila, my textures are on my object. Then all I need to do is just drag this into the scene somewhere. That is gigantic. Right, which is completely fine actually. And then we'll rotate this. Make sure it's at 0 on the y-axis, so it's actually coming out of the ground. And there we have it. We have added a structure to our game, which we can explore now. Alright peeps, so that is it for this part. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned a good chunk from our venture into terraining. We have done quite a few things, so we've messed around with all the terrain tools, and finally we've managed to create a structure and import that into Unity. There are other things that we can do, like add colliders to it, because as you can see I'm slipping right through it, but that will be stuff that we'll explore in future parts. Either way guys, hope you enjoyed this part. Stick around for more of this goodness, and press on and keep creating.